Hello, Care Bears. Living in the present is living in the unknown. It's quite literally like being the bullseye on a dartboard. You're in the middle, you're smack in the center of all things. And everything that's around you, just like those concentric circles around your bullseye, they represent timeline possibilities that are brewing in the infinite field of possibility. But you wouldn't even want to know what's next because there's no feeling that's quite as delicious as being in the unknown. I mean, if you think about it, God's source is the unknown. The crux of our suffering stems from not being connected to that energy, not being intertwined with that energy, not wanting to marry that energy and become that energy. So most of our suffering comes from us not being comfortable in the unknown and then trying to control so that it can become known. So as soon as you step out of that bullseye, as soon as you step out of that alignment, as soon as you step out of that center point and you try to figure out what's going to happen in that next potential or in another now moment, you've left the premises. You've left the unknown. You've left your presence because the unknown has become too uncomfortable for you. But every challenge that you experience will always unmistakably point to what you're still trying to control. So for instance, you move to a new city and then it gets real. You start to feel like, oh, I've been here 2 weeks now. I'm starting to get uncomfortable. That's the unknown. That feeling is unfamiliar to you. And now you want to move back home. That's because you're terrified of interlinking yourself with the unknown, i.e. God's source. You're not allowing yourself to sink deeper into your experience. And so we're constantly clinging on to and grabbing onto things that are known to us. But as long as you play in that game, you're only going to attract things that are predictable, because the knowable and the predictable go hand in hand. The unknowable and the unpredictable go hand in hand. So a simple reminder today that utter presence is the unknown. Think about how you feel on Christmas Eve and you don't know what you're going to get tomorrow, or you didn't know what you were going to get tomorrow as a child. You didn't care because it was palatable. That feeling in and of itself, that resonance, that frequency was exciting. You were in the middle of all possibility. Why would you want to know what's next? No, you're living for the feeling. You're living for the feeling. So humans, the human aspect, the lower self, always wants to know what's next. The human aspect always wants to know what's coming or what happened to it in the past. It's always wallowing in what happened to it in the past because all of that is familiar. It's known, and we want to know. Even when we don't know, we want to know. So the human aspect will attach itself to all of this. And anytime you attach yourself, you're basically announcing to the universe that you're not trusting enough, that you don't trust the unknown. So what's going to happen? It's going to result in more suffering because your higher self knows there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. The unknown is pure magic. The unknown is delectable. The unknown is incomparable. The unknown is top-notch everything. Yes? So what's going to happen when you try to control things? You're going to suffer because you have attachments. The higher self doesn't have attachments. The higher self is floating outside of time and space, watching you, and everything that you do, all the pain that you self-impose, that you self-inflict, all the conundrums and all the melodramas that you find yourself entrenched in, the higher self isn't a part of it. It's observing you as you undergo all of that. It's observing you as you enact or reenact your melodramas, which have to do with your traumas. Your higher self is unscathed. It's never touched. Yes? It's the lower self that suffers. Because the lower self is entangled in all these physical experiences that it deems true. It sees it as true. The higher self knows it's just an illusion. And the more that you resign yourself from that lower self, you extricate yourself from these melodramas by really addressing your traumas, the more you will become the higher self. And you'll feel like you're on holiday all the time. And every once in a while, something will show up. And you're like, okay, I'll deal with it. But I will not be it. I will deal with it. I will not be it. I will serve it. But I'm not going to identify as it or through it. Because I'm the higher self. I'm formless. I'm nameless. I'm weightless. So we are here to embody the higher self. We are becoming the higher self as we raise our consciousness. As we turn up the volume of our frequency, we become the higher self. But you can't do that by bypassing your seemingly lower emotions or your negative emotions. You do that by transforming those emotions, by realizing that they're helping you identify your traumas that now want to be addressed, that now want to be attended to, that now want to be felt and heard and acknowledged and seen and healed. The negative emotions are only negative because they're part of duality. They're part of duality, negative, positive, north, south, white, black. That's all duality. So as soon as you remove those labels from those negative emotions, you'll see that they're really just pointing the way to what it is you need to address within yourself so that you can transcend duality and become the higher self. So you can transcend duality, become the higher self, and then nothing can touch you. Nothing can touch you. So what was my message again? My message was live in the unknown. Live in the present moment. The second that you try to figure things out, the second that you try to find a solution for an apparent problem that's not even really there, it's just your mind convincing you that there's a problem, you're still in duality. There's nothing to look for. There's no solution to find. Live in the present moment, and every story is going to subside. Every thought will dissipate. And all you're going to be left with is you. Presence. I love you.